Evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Paranormal Coffee Lounge this month. I'll be chatting to Chris James about an interesting case from 1983. He'll be telling us what he knows about that, plus some photos he's recently got as well. Sorry about the delay. I've had a bit of technical issues, but hopefully that is all sorted. So we'll run the intro and we'll be chatting to Chris. So any comments, just send them in the link below and hopefully I'll get to read them out. So hopefully you enjoy this. And again, sorry about the delay. It's just one of them things. But let's get on with the intro and we'll have a chat. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
You'll hear you there. How are we doing?
I'm good. Busy.
As always.
Always, yeah.
So we got our coffee, mate. So we're gonna have a chat about some interesting case. Was it 1983?
Yeah.
And tell us what you know about that, buddy. And also some interesting photos that we were just chatting about, which a friend of yours has just sent in. So we'll have a look at them.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us a bit about it, mate. What's going on lately and stuff?
Yeah, well, I found out about this case just after I moved to a small town called Aberystwyth, which is in West Wales. Beautiful country, loads of wildlife, absolutely fantastic place to grow up. I heard about a UFO case. I've been into UFOs for years and everything. So I dug into this case and I found out a lot of information about it that was being kept away from public view. Happened, I think it was on 19th of January, 1983. An object clipped the top of some trees, ripping the underneath of this object out, which then scattered debris over 4 farmers' fields. Farmer heard the commotion, goes outside, sees all the debris, phones the police. They turn up, they have a look at it, they get in touch with the MOD. It takes around about 2.5 hours to get from England into Wales and to like where I live. So within an hour, apparently military turned up, which is really unusual because there is no military bases near to where I live. The nearest is in England, just across the border. So they was in here within the hour. Locals of the village, they heard American accents. They saw American military uniforms, and they was with other MOD officials and military, and they went through these fields, basically picking up all this debris and removing it all, telling the villagers that basically shut up about what you seen here. This never happened. We was never here. And then they left, taking everything with them. 2 newspaper articles about it a couple of days later. One was in think the Liverpool Echo. Also, Kew Gardens, they also had a record of this incident as well. Now, we think the understanding is that the MOD got in touch with Kew Gardens to talk about how to remove a forested area. It's the only thing that we can think of, because the connection with the forest. And so somebody went into the forest a couple of days later and they managed to recover some of this material, and they've still got it to this day. I'm not going to be mentioning no names at this point, because it's unfair to those people that have also been looking into this. But there is other people that's like been recording like this. There has been a documentary being made about it. There's also been it's the 40th anniversary now of it as well. And also, I've been trying to get information on this from the MOD by putting in for freedom of information, and all I've been getting back is Section 26, which in their terms is top secret.
Yeah.
And then they put on a 70-year secrecy act on the whole case. So whatever happened here, they want it kept quiet. They don't want it out. I've been speaking to witnesses that actually lived in the village at the time. One of my best friends lived in the village, still got family there. Some people are now coming forward. I have spoken to some of the elderly and they still refuse to talk about it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. It's a frustrating case because the information's there. It's just that the powers that be are refusing to release it. I even got in touch with Nick Pope and asked him about, can you give me any heads up about what happened at the case? Because he joins the MOD literally a couple of years just after this incident. And I'm wondering if he actually came across it. I got a nice email back saying he came across a lot of cases. He may have come across it. He doesn't recollect. So that stopped me in my tracks there. And then every time that I've been trying to get information about this, I've just been kiboshed by the MOD, the police, and all the local authorities. Nobody wants to talk about it.
It's sort of like a scare tactic as well, isn't it? With the local people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they've had maybe, I don't know, sort of people turn up and say, shush, don't talk about it, and scared into not saying anything.
Yeah.
And there's also another case, but even like, back from then, so many years on, you're still worried about if anyone's going to sort of come out, everything's going to come by it.
But you see, with them putting the Secrecy Act on it, it just speaks volumes that something happened here. With all the silence to this day from the locals, again, speaks volumes that something happened, right? It really does my head in because I've worked on it for so long and I thought I was getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden it's just a brick wall just stops you dead and nothing else comes out. It is a hot spot around here. We see things all the time. My mate who lived in the village, he took photographs from his back door. He was having a cigarette and noticed a white light going across the valleys. No navigation, no lights, no sound, no nothing. Just the steady white light just moving across the sky and then disappearing over the hills. I've got photographs of that actually.
Mm-hmm.
Just right. If I do this,
this is where the technical issues come in, which I had earlier. So it's a bit of a delay in the actual stream itself. I was trying to get these photos on my end to whoever's watching, Seem to having great difficulty getting them on. But so I am using a different laptop this evening, so it could be why.
Hold on a minute. Do all of them. Gotta love technology, you know.
Oh, it's slow as anything.
Right, try that again. I mean, it's like they should make this stuff like foolproof, right? If you just,
I would just had to add that on. So this, guys, I'm going to add this to it. There we go.
Obviously, there's the object. These are the fields where the debris was scattered over. So my mate has got a really good view of the fields from the farmer. The original farmer's not there anymore. Sadly, he passed away, and now his son runs the farm. I've yet to speak to him. Anyway, this is the object that he caught in the sky. Nice tic-tac.
It's certainly got a distinctive shape to it, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
To what most photos, if you get a good photo of something, tend to be. I mean, to me, that has definitely got like a structure to it. It's not just a light in the sky, is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what speed was this traveling at, Dan? Was it quite fast? Just a constant steady speed. Yeah, just a constant steady speed. But there was no nav lights on it, so there was no flashing lights. Just this white light. That's the metadata for it. And that's the other part of it. But yeah,
and there's no noise either, was there?
No noise to it whatsoever.
We ruled out a drone because before we came on the stream, we were chatting about this, and we were saying if it was some sort of drone or a police drone or anything, it had that brushless, whiny noise to it. If it was a helicopter, obviously, it'd have the noise of an aircraft or a helicopter. But as you can see there, that is not an aircraft shape in my view. Anyway, I don't know what anyone else thinks of that, but that is definitely something strange. I mean, it could be. You could look at that if and say it could be an aeroplane coming head on. But again, you know, it's hard to say. But to me, that is definitely something not of an aircraft or anything known as that sort of thing.
No. But I mean, it was moving slower than what an aircraft would.
And there's that aspect to it as well, where it's moving slow. I mean, how can it stay in the sky? You know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But it was just a weird thing. But see, the valleys down here, you get training fighter aircraft that fly over the valleys like training. But that's like during the daytime. It's very rare they'll do any sorties at night because people are sleeping. You know, you don't want jet fighters flying over your house at night time. So they tend not to do night maneuvers. And if they do night maneuvers, they do it out in the bay over the sea. They don't do it over the land at night. So, and this was took around about, I think the time is on the timestamp, 10 to 9 on 21st of August, 2019.
Yeah, so definitely an interesting photo there.
But it's just some of the strange things that we see. I was talking to you earlier about the one that we saw over the sea last night when I walked my mate home. We both walked to the railings like that lead onto the sea, and then watching this red light, and then it changed to green, then it changed to red, then it changed to green, and it was stopping, and then it would start again, and then it'd stop, and then it'd start again. My mate Dan said, "Oh, that's a drone," and I was like, "Yeah, but there's no sound." Now on a drone, I've got a little MIDI drone that you fly with the handset and everything. When that thing kicks off, you can hear those blades kicking in and spinning and making loads and loads of noise. And it wasn't doing that.
So you can still hear me. I think my picture's frozen there. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you've froze a bit, yeah. I'm still here.
I'll just stop.
Yeah, that might help if you stop the. I'll stop sharing that for a minute. Oh no. I think Terry's just disappeared.
There we go.
There we go. He's back. Hello.
No, there's some interesting footage of the images and that.
Yeah.
Also, going back to some of like the stuff a friend of mine, Dave's caught. I mean, he sent me pictures similar of like red things in the sky where he's been at, and he just happens to be in the right place at the right time. And many of that is on the channel, which if you go through the videos on my YouTube channel, you can see some brilliant photos. And even I've got some stills from 2020 when I took those images of the rectangular thing in the sky.
Yeah.
I can't explain that. It's just another thing. I've told the account so many times now. But I was just sat there in the sky and it was moving against the wind, and I was outside having a cigarette at the time. It was during lockdown, and this thing just came drifting over, and I recorded it, and it just started flashing like the sun reflecting off it. So I filmed it, and then I looked back on the film and zoomed in and took some screenshots. And it was then when I realised it wasn't. It's like a rectangular shape, it had dark spots and light spots. I was like, wow, that is something different. And then we're going back to that one I caught the other week where I was in the garden again with the dogs and saw this bright star in the garden, didn't think anything of it. Came over, started reflecting, and I went upstairs, got my phone off charge, which was about 2% battery, and filmed it.
Yeah.
And as you saw there,
that was crazy. That was because it looked like a star with something spinning around it. And do you know something?
I've actually got
There's another video online of that.
This thing is a sat in the sky, and it's not an aeroplane. It's just moved forward and moved backwards. That little flashing dot there, it was just sat in the sky over Frimley. That was an insect. It's gone now. There it is again. It keeps on disappearing. Now, I've just been watching this, and I've had to run upstairs to get my camera phone. Hey, look at that.
Dude, was that? Did you put a filter over that afterwards?
Yeah, so just to rule out that obviously it could have been a balloon or something, I'll put on a filter, a negative filter, just to see there was a dot in there because it was sharp as a little pinprick black dot.
Yeah.
So I played around with it and I heightened up the lighting and everything, and the best I could get was that. But I actually had a player in Adobe and the other apps you get, as Adobe, the picture things to brighten it up, and there's nothing in that background. Well, I've also ran it through Stackard as well, the Astro program I've still got. And what that does is that it collects, say you've got a picture of, say, Jupiter or Saturn, it'll frame that and it'll keep it in a box. So no matter if it moves around the sky or the camera's moving, it'll just take that and it'll take stills from that one image, but it'll track it on the screen. It will track basically what's in that video.
Yeah.
So it'll track that and it'll take the best photos. It'll tell you the ones it wants to delete from the WAR file. You delete them and it will stack the best photos, which creates these images we see on the sky at night and all this, all these brilliant pictures of Jupiter and that, and they zoom in and edit them. Now, I run that video through Stackart program. It couldn't get a track on that object. So it was showing it here where it appeared. I mean, it's trying to search for box area to see where it was, and it appeared here, but the box wasn't on it. So it wasn't tracking whatever was on there. If it was a balloon, it would still pick it up because even if it wasn't visible, because it's still there in the actual format on the WAR data, it will pick it out. It will come up as the image is nothing, but it will still see it as an item there, it's not a pixel. And that's what I thought was weird because the stacking program couldn't pick it up.
Because I have seen some weird stuff. Like if I sit on the seafront and I'm like on the side, I normally go down the bottom end of the seafront and sit on the side of the cliff face. So I'm looking all across like the seafront, like see the pier, the castle in the distance, and then just a mass expanse of sea. And it's really, really cool. I always keep my eye on the horizon and look just in the cloud line, and the amount of times that I see little flashes and that. Now, admittedly, it could be an aircraft that's just like above the cloud line that's catching the sunlight on like the glass on the plane or something. And that could be the little flash. So I accept that. But then when you start seeing 4 or 5 little flashes all in like the same part of the sky, it can't be planes, because planes wouldn't be flying that close together.
Well, no, this is the thing. This is what I say. Well, I was saying earlier when I was up in Yorkshire last week. On the Wednesday, I popped up to the cliff tops, obviously to see a good friend of mine, Paul, and I've never basically met up with him before. So
shout out to Paul Sinclair.
Yeah, brilliant guy. Went up there, made a journey up there, and thought, oh, you know, we're going. I'm in the area anyway. I'll go meet the guy, and he's up there with several other people. And as I'm walking down, I will tell the story, but when you get to these cliffs, I've never been, so you drive up there. There's basically a lane, and it just takes you all the way to the cliff tops, the visitor centre. So I've gone down there on my Todd, parked up. To seen that harvest moon as you're driving down Cliff Lane, I thought, if anything, I'm going to get a picture of that, because that is just fantastic. It was massive, like orange moon coming up, and it's lovely clear sky. So I thought I'll get a picture of that if anything. So I've driven down there, parked up, walked down past the visitor centre. It's not too dark, so I didn't need my flashlight. I thought the moonlight lit up the path, so I'm walking down, and the top left of my eye, there's a red flash, this sort of bright red flash up in the sky, so not on the horizon, just up here. And I went, wow, like that, and it just dimmed out. It lasted several seconds. It just pinged out like I was saying earlier, Chris, like a TV going off. It's just like that, gone.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's amazing. So in my head, I was like, oh, you know, strange area. It could be anything. But in my head, I was like, wow, is that, you know, one of the lights that have been seen around here? So I didn't think anything of it. Walked down, going across the probably 300, 400 meters up, and I heard obviously a bunch of guys chatting, strong Yorkshire accent. Well, that's got to be them. I saw like the CCTV from the camera, so I ran up and said hello. Went up with Paul, and we were about 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the sport around that. Another light appeared to the bottom right of the moon. A big, again, a flash, and it just dimmed out, and one of Paul's colleagues, there you go, look, not that. And we all looked that way and saw it. At the time, he did mention it was a Cobra Shield or Cobra Warrior, an NATO exercise. So Paul did have that, had to put it out there, so it could be something to do with that. And you could hear the jets rumbling and booms in the background. They're just been sort of flying around, making a right old noise and a good old time out in the North Sea. So I thought, wow, you know, brilliant. But to me, I was like, well, I've already seen something up there, and where I live, there's no navigation lights, and there's sort of nothing to go on but to say it was an aeroplane. So I think it's about 45 minutes to an hour later. Everyone, they're all chatting in their little group and looking out for any strangeness. And I'm there looking on the horizon, just seeing these things disappear. Apparently, they just light up, these orange lights. So I was like, going to try and get something. The moon had moved a bit. So as I'm staring out, I'm just concentrating on the horizon. And to the left of my sort of provisional vision, to my left eye, a big flash came up. Now, what you got is you've got a bit of the cliff face poking out. So you've got a bit poking out. Below you, you can't see below you. It's just a fence. So go straight down like that. And I was like, what the hell was that? So I've walked to my left and to look over, because to me, it's like someone taking a photo. Like you got that double flash on the camera. It's that bright where you've got the double burst, you've got a single burst on me, and you've got that flash like that, and it's really bright. It was like that. But it didn't light up that bit it was poking out, which I thought was strange. That's why I went out and looked. Guys there saying that don't climb over the railings. Not I wasn't going to, but I just wanted to, I was curious because it just got me. I was like, what the hell was that? I looked over, thinking someone was down there. I mean, it could be a fisherman, but you sort of look down, you can't see straight down from the platform, but you see a bit more to the left. Nothing there works. I think one of his friends, Mark, or something, got his light out and scanned it. No one was down there to create that flash. that's when he told me he had the little lights in the bush on the right and the voice say his name. After I saw that, he told me about that. And I thought that was strange in that area where he caught that, and obviously other things that have gone on from that viewing platform. It's quite interesting. But again, it's strange. But
there's a lot of history all along that coast, going right back to like Jurassic times. I mean, all of that land used to be land, all Doggerland and that used to be connected to the Netherlands. You could walk from the UK straight across to the Netherlands. So there's old settlements, roundhouses. There's old settlements in the sea. So when the tide goes out, you can see where the old places used to be. So that the whole area is just flooded with history. So whatever's there, it's got a strong force, the area has, and it has done for years.
Well, I was trying to go basically in my mind, obviously reading the book, so it's more curiosity to the area, and we're about 40 minutes away from the coastline, more inland. But it was, the same driving back. My mum had an accident, sadly, out there, and we had to go to Scarborough Hospital. And driving back, she's in there for 12 hours. Driving back, we went past, I think it's Staxton Lane, where it sort of takes you not past Saxon Rolls, the security RF Staxton. There's like a lane down there, but the fog has started coming in, and went through a village, and there's certain little places which picked out, and I was like, oh, that's a place in the book, and it was just added to the eeriness where they've got the fog coming in. It's quite an interesting area. I definitely think something's there, but it definitely warrants an investigator, like money to be put into it and having a proper look.
Oh yeah, there's some. I mean, but
you can't, again, with the Skinwalker thing. Similarities with the Skinwalker there, but it's only through accounts bringing up in the books and that. The whole area is just fascinating. But then, do you want to kill that sort of area off? You know, you don't want to tourist sort of destination, do you?
Yeah, get Paul and the crew to do like a full investigation, like EAP research, everything, and just scan the whole area. You got to be careful up there as well, because MOD own a lot of that land. So you got to be careful where you walk up there.
But again, like with your area with the lights and that, seen over the sea, the debris. I mean, it's just all. So where do you go on it? You know, you also got the Penn Turk incident with Kaz Clark in Wales as well, and that's an interesting case. Even though there's no photos or videos, it's just an interesting. Even listening to it, even if it was a story being told, it was interesting.
Well, what gets me about that case is the explosions that was heard next to the hospital. If it was like the military said, it was a training exercise, they wouldn't be using munitions.
No.
Especially at night time near a hospital. There's people in there that are sick that need the rest, and you know you don't want to be having explosions going off outside and that. So we're then coming out with, it was a training exercise. It's a load of BS. She proved that the military, the police, the authorities, and everybody else was lying, and her and Gary bent over backwards to prove and gather all the information and the evidence to prove that it was all real. That, you know, I believe her 100%. Right? She's having time away from the internet now because of all the crap that she had to deal with from all the trolls and everything. So now she's stepped back, but she's still, you know, she's still well loved. She's still well believed, and I hope that I get to chat to her again soon. I miss her. I miss our conversations. We used to talk on the phone for like hours. So
again, her story is quite interesting. So I'm just trying to add another photo to the chat. So this thing appeared just out of nowhere, didn't it? It sort of just came in like she described
Well,
it from another dimension. You know, just
it's
a
like
tearing
how she
sky and
described
appeared.
it.
Yeah.
This thing was being waited for 3 days.
How did they know? I mean, that's what the interesting thing is. I mean, how did they know it was going to appear there?
Well, there's been loads of speculation on that. They're saying that the military now have got like mechanics that or machinery that can scan for stuff that's going to appear. They know where to go. They're in communications and things like that. So why over Penturk? I haven't got a clue. Maybe they thought it was nice and quiet and safe. But there's other cases as well where there's objects that are just appearing, and then all of a sudden you get choppers flying around them and that. There's spheres, for instance.
Yeah.
The amount of spheres that are being seen around the world, and the Pentagon even admit this now, and so does NASA. They all say, "Oh yeah, we've got a problem with spheres in our skies." I believe that they are monitoring the devices. They're monitoring us. There's a lot of activity seen around war zones lately as well.
And we're looking like Syria and places like that, like Iraq, with this jellyfish thing flying through the sky.
Well, not just that. Literally, Ukraine a couple of weeks ago, a video was released by Ukrainian military that was flying the drones, and on their drone image is this long cylindrical object just hovering in the sky. But it's either a long cylindrical object or it's a disc looking from the side. But either way, they are hovering over the battlefields. But the thing is, the soldiers can't see them on the grounds with their own eyes. They have to look through infrared or night vision cameras, and then they're seeing them.
Yeah.
So they're hovering over the battlefields all the time, monitoring. People say that they're our military and they're using them like special tech that's all hidden away from the public so they can't see them, which I don't believe. There's loads going on. Russia, they see them as well. There's a famous account recently of a British soldier that was out in Ukraine, and there was Ukrainian soldiers on one side and Russian soldiers on the other side. And there's a river that runs down the center. And the Russians could hear the Ukrainians talking, the Ukrainians could hear the Russians talking. And then all of a sudden, 3 brownish lights appear, like slowly hovers over them. They're all fighting, so they're paying attention to the lights, but they're carrying on fighting, fighting for their lives. So they carry on, just chatting. And then these 3 brown lights turn into one big white light and then just drifts away over the battlefield and is gone. Well, the soldiers, when they was being they have the turnaround, so they bring in fresh forces to take over from the ones that had just been fighting. They go back to the mess and they're all talking about it, and they're all talking about this object. And they was like, well, the Russians could see it as well because we could hear them talking about it. So, but they're in combat mode. None of them fired upon this light. They all just carried on fighting amongst themselves without, fighting back, without fighting at this object. But it's just one of many cases that are seen over, especially Ukraine, but also over Beirut, Lebanon, Gaza, over Israel. You've got the famous Mount object that was seen that year that was filmed.
That's the light. It came down the dome over the rock, wasn't it? Yeah. When it shot off, flashed, and boom, gone.
Well, the longer video, there is red lights up in the sky, all flashing, and the white light disappears up into where the red lights are. You don't normally see that in the video, in normal videos. Just a big shout out to Moon at Noon. He's one of our members on Christina's channel. So welcome, dude. Yeah, so there's a lot of instances with these spheres and that, and you're getting pilots now that are recording them that it's a cube and it's got a sphere around the cube. We think that the sphere itself is part of the propulsion system on the cube is interfering with the atmosphere, and it's ionizing the air around the object, so it looks like a sphere. You get the same around certain UFOs. You'll get like a haze around them. It's the same principle. It's mucking about with the ozone around the craft. It makes it so it looks like it's a cloud. That's all it is. But yeah, there's loads of reports of spheres, and there's more. This is the thing I've been seeing as well. The reports of UFOs have just gone through the roof. I'm inundated now with work. It's just gone crazy since the Pentagon's come out 5 years ago. Yeah, UFOs are real. We don't know what they are. We're going to study them and look into it. It's just gone crazy.
It's there's a game with Luis Elizondo, and you got like the Two Stars Academy and all this. It's just sort of like celebritizing it all. I feel like it's just running away with the whole.
I think that's in a way a good thing, but what they need to do more is put it on more platforms for the younger ones to get hold of it and start to understand what's going on. We're being drip fed information, and it's done on purpose, so it's not a massive shock. They can't just like, there is people that want it's called chaotic disclosure, where everything's all let out all at once. To me, that'll be an information overload. A lot of people wouldn't be able to cope with all of the information if it was just all dropped all at once. Whereas if we drip fed it and we're given pieces every so often, it's going to get the people conditioned for the announcements that yes, this is all real and we're not alone in the universe, and buckle up. So there's going to be a lot of shocked people out there. There's going to be a lot of people that are still not going to believe. And whatever people believe. I'm not going to knock anybody's belief. If you don't believe it, that's fair enough. But I don't like being told that there's nothing. I've had my own experiences. I know through 100% through looking at my own eyes that it's real. It wasn't a hologram. It wasn't projection. I wasn't having a bad dream. I wasn't. This 100%. Right. So.
Yeah, it's just. I was trying to find. Let me a second. You carry on chatting, Chris. Sorry, I'm just trying to upload some of the photos on here. If I can
it's a bit. I had to. Open up the photographs and then share that screen because I couldn't do it as like a slideshow.
No, I'll try a different way. So spare me if you carry on.
But I mean, I love how like Ross Coulthard, Gary Nolan, a lot of the senators, a lot of people. Like Gillibrands, Luna, these are the people I've got time for because these are the people that are pushing for the truth. And it's great that these people that have got a lot of clout are pushing for this. They're not taking no for an answer. If they get told, right, we're not going to hear this in Congress, then they'll reword it and they'll bring out the same bill. Just worded different, and then they'll push that through, and if it gets denied they'll do it again, and they'll do it again, and they'll keep doing it until they get heard and they get passed. And it's the only way that things are going to move forward. And all these people that are pushing back, get rid of them, vote them out. They're not welcome. They're there against the society. They're not for society. They're the ones that don't want any of this lot getting out. So vote these people out. Get rid of them. They're not working on your behalf. And it's the same with the British government as well. If they're not prepared to talk about UFOs and leaving it down to people like us, then they're not worth the paper they're printed on.
No, exactly. I mean,
I got the local MP that was running for here where I live, Mark Williams, brilliant guy. When he was in power here, Liberal Democrats, he did brilliant, got things done, kept the town alive. He got voted out and Plaid Cymru turned up. I asked Mark directly, point blank, right? I said, if you get back into the Senate and your MP back in Parliament, can I ask you to bring up the UFO phenomena here in the UK, please? Because it needs to be put through Parliament for it to be heard and spoke about and get the ball rolling, just like America and Europe, about them talking about their encounters and all their problems. We're hearing from the military, we're hearing from the pilots, but we're not hearing from the public. And the public have got a lot of information because they're the ones that are taking the photographs and the videos and coming out with their accounts on that. And they're not being heard. But all the pilots and everybody else are. It's just not them. Did your light just went off then?
Yeah, it's on. We figured out why that happens. It's the Wi-Fi. It's a light bulb that runs off the Wi-Fi, and every now and again it blinks on and off. It's creepy when we first started.
I was going to say, I was thinking it was a bloody ghost in the house.
Yeah, well, oddly enough, we have had strange things happen in the house, knocks and bangs when we first moved in. But I think last Christmas or Christmas before, I told it to bugger off, and it sort of, whatever it was making noise. We haven't had anything yet, touch wood, but the light blinking on and off, it was the Wi-Fi bulb, is cheap bulbs I've got off Amazon. They went off the Wi-Fi, so now and again, if it in the connection, it will blink on and off.
I've just bought a bulb, and you control it with your phone. And
yeah, that's what these do.
Yeah.
Every now and again, it'll blink if it doesn't get a Bluetooth or some connection. It'll just blink on and off, which was creepy before. We're like, oh, lights they all did it simultaneously in the house, so that one will blink. When a minute later, that one will blink. We think like something's walking through the house, making the bulbs going on off. But it's just, I think it's just the Wi-Fi element on that. Nothing creepy there. Thank goodness. Very cool if it was.
Don't tell your friends that it's a Wi-Fi bulb and wait for it to do it again, like.
No.
And then just sit there and go, is anybody there?
Yeah, that's it. It was quite creepy, wasn't it? Like, oh no, we had odd things going on. Old house, you know, I think it's 1903 it was built, so
yeah.
We looked through the local archives and there's pictures of it from the 1900s, you know, and the old local sort of like nostalgia pages, and our house is still what it looks like today, you know. It's got a fence there now, which wasn't there before.
My house, there's photographs in it in the museum, and you can see my house. And the photograph was 1826. And the house was already built enough, and it was like horse and carts going down the road and everything.
Same here. It used to be a dust street with the old gas lights. It was quite cool.
Yeah, the gas lights, yeah. And the trees was in the road. Not on the pavement, that was in the road.
That's it.
Everybody walking around in old attire as well. All black suits, bowler hats. Everybody had a hat on.
That's another thing. I mean, we sort of look into the ghosty aspects of it, where ghosts coming in and out of realities, and you know, people see them. It's the same as these flying craft, like with the lights and stuff. They just appear and disappear. I mean, I just wonder if there's an element there to it all.
Well, there's a lot of talk about different realms, like different universes, and we're bumping up to universes and they're coming through that way. I find that hard to believe. I can't get my head around it. I can't. I'm having trouble being in this bloody universe without thinking about other universes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's like this hard, the large collider they've got. I can't even pronounce it.
The Hadron Collider, yeah.
The Hadron Collider, yeah. I mean, but when it powered up, it made miniature black holes which lasted nanoseconds. There's a paper produced on it, and the scientists looked into that aspect, and that's all gone very quiet. And they still smashing things around, trying to find, obviously, the God particle, which they say they have found.
Yeah, the God
And,
particle.
but it's like they created something else, and they've gone, well, we found that, but we've made that. So how did we do that? And they're playing around with that and expanding on that, and that's not what they're telling us, and that's what the real worry was. And if you look at the creation of like the atom bomb, and you look into like, the records of that, Einstein and Oppenheimer basically thought they're creating this thing that's never been done before. Are they gonna? And there was when they worked it all out, it was something that it was gonna. They were worried it's going to destroy the whole world. Where they're going to create something that's going to suck us all into oblivion, and they're worried about that on paper. But they wanted to give it the go ahead because everything was going on with Japan and World War II. But then they'd never been done before, so they sort of. So if it didn't go down that route, they've created something that could have wiped us all out, but they did it anyway. But this is like the collider.
Well, they even said, didn't they? They didn't know what the consequences were. They thought
what's going on with the collider, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, they're bringing out this science. They're going, well, how did we do that? Let's have a look. And now they're sort of playing God with this collider thing. They're trying to find something which they won't release to us, but it's crazy, mate, crazy.
We're not getting the full picture of what's going on there.
I mean, we never will.
We're doing science, but they won't tell us what it is.
No. But they're going about now different dimensions and stuff, and that's coming out. And about the pineal glands, there was an article on that which I read the other day, and how we interact with these multiverses. And this guy who's written this paper on it and is basically gone public and told everyone, look, this is real. You know, it's like we can communicate with these multidimensional beings. But he's being shot down by the other science community, basically saying it's all rubbish. The guy's talking nonsense, but he's looked into it and done the research, and he's trying to make it a science now to go further into it. So another interesting aspect to it all is, you know, but that's what's going to happen. I mean, I could show you a picture of something or to a flying saucer and tell you it's a flying saucer, but then I can't make you believe that. And then you can obviously just say yeah or nay to it. But that's the problem we've got in this field. We do this sort of thing, but we can't convince or give anyone hard evidence of it. Well, you can tell someone you saw something, but then it's just your word. But always believe what you've seen. I mean, I've seen enough to say, wow, it's definitely not the world we live in. It's not a reality. I'm sure you have too, and many other people.
You don't have to believe the story, you can believe in them. They can tell you, I saw like UFO land, and then there was like the little green men coming out waving their arms about, right? Mm-hmm. You might not believe their story, but you believe in what they saw.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, they saw something. You know, so you believe in what they saw. It doesn't mean that you have to believe in what they actually saw. You believe in because they saw it. So I find it's easier that way. When I turn around to them and say, "What did you see?" And then I come out with a list of all the, like, how fast was it going? Did it have any flashing lights? Did it change direction? Did you was there any other objects in the sky at the time? Do you live near an airport? Yeah, I ask them loads and loads of questions. 9 times out of 10, somebody can answer your question straight away. It's the ones where they're I don't know. That's when their story starts to fall apart and gets a bit iffy. Right? I'm not saying they're lying. I'm just saying, well, if this is so fresh in your mind, the answers will be there straight away.
Yeah.
It's tough sometimes because, like, the images are getting harder with AI. it's getting really difficult now to tell what's, unless somebody gives you the raw data from their phone so you can check it out. There's no way that you can say, yeah, that's a real UFO, or yeah, that person took a picture of that UFO. Because with that, how AI is going, you can just say, put a UFO in the sky and then claim that as your picture. There's no description to say, oh, it's AI generated.
It's like
So I'm just reading what Moon wrote about Bigfoot.
I'll put up on the screen.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I'm a believer from the Patterson film.
Yeah.
There are times when undeniable footage is captured. I've never seen anything at all. Lights in the sky, just lights, I believe. Which is a fair comment, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the same. Talking about the Patterson film, that has been stabilized now, so the images are not all shaky. Like, and apparently there's another Sasquatch up in the tree line that nobody had ever spotted before, because the images were all over the shop. But now, because they've stabilized it, there's a lot more detail. And it looks like as well, it's a female Sasquatch that's carrying a small Sasquatch. But I believed in the Sasquatch for a long time. There is too much plausible information out there to say otherwise.
But then I'll just I'll try and find it now. I've just finished this book. Is it this one? There we go. So basically, I'll collect all these different kinds. I've got a whole file up here, but it's the one more heads, Voices in the Wilderness.
Yeah,
and I've just had time to finish that. That there, Chris, is a fantastic book to read. Basically, if you know the history of this guy, he was up in the Sierra Nevada mountains deer hunting, and they heard these weird noises and screams and sort of ape-like creatures, which had a different tone.
Well, they actually class it now, don't they, as a language?
Yeah, so
it's a Sasquatch language.
I think it's a crypto lingua reader went out there from the Navy and basically said, look, these aren't normal. This wasn't done in a speaker. No one's going to carry a speaker up here because they're not God knows how many miles into the wilderness. And to get there, and you read the book and look at the photos, they're like narrow paths that go in sheer drops. And several times in the book he wrote, his horse fell down, these cliffs and luckily survived and down this mountainous area. And they're saying all these noises stuff. But it weren't just the creature noises, it was lights as well. He describes a lightsaber which moved through a tree line just like that. And you see that he's up there a bit later on. He used to go back yearly to visit the camp. He doesn't so much anymore. He still tries to. I mean, the guy's, I don't know how old he is, but he's getting on now. But obviously, it's hard to get up there. They take his daughter there, and camp out up there. And quite not recently, probably a few years back now, but they saw this like a lightsaber through the trees. And again, a strange area, and it's not anywhere, but yeah, this phenomenon just happened. I mean, how do you explain that? Weird noise, voices at night, like almost like monkeys or chimps, but like large creatures from what this crypto linguist sort of described as they're massive, taller than a human, making these noises with just the noise that was coming out. And then you get like these lights in the sky. And then quite recently, like on the David Paulides about the missing people as well in the same area. Hunters going missing and either showing up or never showing back up again. And this is another strange area, and it's not just there; it's other national parks and
you got the Upper
and here in the UK.
Yeah. There's a lot of strangeness, and maybe there is some truth to a lot of these folklores and folk tales that we hear. We all put them down to it's just myth. It was just somebody telling a tale. But it's weird how those tales are sort of like showing themselves today. the reports of lights being seen in the sky in 17 something. We're still
Yeah.
seeing those lights in the sky today.
Yeah, everyone's seeing them. No, World War II, Foo Fighters, things, and they're saying that was static. You know, it's static coming off the aerials from those aircraft at the time. It's just static light, you know, and you're up there going, well, these pilots, okay, they've seen action and they've seen plenty of stuff, and they're saying it's like post-traumatic stress, but again, you look back and you're like, they're qualified, you know, they've seen it all. And
well, it's the same as these people that are in charge of nuclear bunkers, right? They're in charge of nuclear weapons. They look after them, or they're in charge of the missiles themselves, right? They have to be sane people to do that job because of the responsibility that's on their shoulders, right? So they have to go through loads and loads of like evaluation tests to make sure that they've got their faculties, right? But if they see a UFO, they're classed as crazy. You know, you're not fit to like look after a nuke because you've seen a UFO. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. They're sane enough to look after UFOs, but they're not sane enough to like report one. If somebody turns around to me and says, oh yeah, I just saw a UFO, I'm interested. I want to know what's going on. I ain't going to stand there and turn around and go, you're crazy. No such thing.
It's like the question Moon at Noon's just put up about the visitors and that. Now, do you believe the questions to you both? I mean, are they already here? Is it something already in our oceans, maybe, or in our mountains or volcanoes? Is it?
They would be where humans can't be.
Yeah, they don't want to be seen in a way.
Top of mountains, in caves, like right up in the mountains, in the seas, like in the trenches and all that, like in the seas. They would go where humans don't go. And it'd be a perfect hiding place for them to be. This is why we see a lot of lights under the sea. We're seeing lights coming out of the sea and shooting off into space. Even Christopher Columbus reported seeing lights under the sea. And lights leaving the ocean.
Like where they're forming that. I mean, if they've got this technology where, like on the video I showed, if it was a craft, say, and the photo that you put up where they're disappearing and that is a different tech. I mean, if they wanted us gone and they were worried about some sort of thermonuclear war, which well, let's face it, we're monkeys, aren't we? We don't know what we're playing around with. Have come up with. They could just be like, right, you know, we're going to reclaim it, or we're going to have your planet, and then, but they haven't done that. Now, we're observing and sort of.
I hear scientists, and they'll debunk aliens traveling across space because of the distance, right? Well, my answer to that is that scientist is using our physics, our technology to answer that question. So our question is impossible because we're not using their physics and their equations. They may have figured out that they can go from point to point in an instant. So they could be living like 400 light years away from us, but could get here in an instant. And we don't know that technology. So where people turn around and say they could already be on the planet, yeah, they could be. They could be hiding in caves, underground, bunkers, whatever, hiding in the sea. Or they could travel vast distances faster than the speed of light. They've probably figured out using their technology that it's possible to do certain things that we haven't even thought of yet. So I find a lot of it possible. I like the idea of bending space where you got a point from point A to point B. And the best way to do that is to bend space so the 2 points are touching, point A and point B are touching. And then you do your distance that, which is nothing. But that means then you're going to have to be bending all of that space in front of you, which would then distort the space. So does that distort gravitational pulls on planets and orbits and things. So there's bending space. There's loads and loads of problems with it.
Well, it's another theory. It was something else I watched about when these things appear. It's like for them to do that, something else has to happen in the same space time. So that's why we get the volcanoes going off and stuff. So sometimes when these things appear, you look in events worldwide, something like an earthquake might happen somewhere else, or something else will happen because they're sort of not manipulating, but they're playing with that time. I mean, I'm going a bit science fiction here, but this is a theory put forward is because they're disturbing, shall we say, the time, the space frame sort of thing, something's got to happen to replace how they're appearing, if that makes sense. Like the fabric they're distorting, there's a positive and a negative. So the negative side would be something else happens in our reality for them to sort of create something in their reality to come through, sort of thing, if that makes sense. So there's a positive and a negative effects going on. And that was one theory put forward by someone. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's sort of saying, and he wrote this out. It's quite interesting.
I think that there would be beings here on the planet. They would be like the caretakers, if you like, looking after everything, making sure everything's ticking over. And then maybe every so often they come back, swap over duties, and then whatever. I don't know.
What's your thoughts on like the Anunnaki, Chris?
Yeah, the Anunnaki. They see. This is where I sort of join the parallels to the Anunnaki and all this Nibiru, planet Nibiru, or whatever you call it. People saying that the Anunnaki left on a ship. They go off for like 3,800 years or whatever it is, and then come back, take all the gold that we've mined over that time, because that's their source of fuel or whatever it is. So there's loads and loads of speculation of why the Anunnaki was around. Some say that they were alien beings. Others saying that they was the ones that that made the giants, because the humans couldn't mine the gold like fast enough, so they had the giants to do it. There's throughout all the religious books, they talk about the Anunnaki. Apart from, I think it's the Indian scriptures, they don't talk about the Anunnaki. I think they've got a different name for them. But most of the religious texts mention the Anunnaki. They were a race, a people. As far as that, though, I don't really know much about them. And they were a race before the Anunnaki also. So were these a different race that turned up before the Anunnaki, and then they went and then the Anunnaki took over? Or there's so much that we don't know about them. And then there's the attire that they wear, like the handbag type thing that they carry, and the stone that they carry in the other hand. And it's on so many different continents. They're all like don a beard that looks like it's all been woven, like plaited. Got the same hairstyle, same clothing, all carrying the same type of bag and stone. And they're seen throughout continents around the world. So I don't think the Anunnaki were set to one race. I think that they were put out through different races to help each different race, like farming, military, whatever, so maybe these are the beings that everybody was talking about, like, because to me, the Anunnaki as well, they were like 8 feet tall themselves. So they were giants to us. you see descriptions of them where they are really tall and that, and then you got the human population that are small around them.
It's
Yeah, that's. See, I get what you're on about there, Moon. The theory of interstellar is like motive. You see, I have a hard problem about time slowing down the faster you go. And if you left and went so far into the future and then you come back, like you went out into space and you come back and then everybody's aged, like faster than what you have.
That's like light speed, isn't it?
Yeah, but I can't get my head around it. It's like if you're traveling to a certain location at light speed, so you get there at faster than speed of light, so you're there in whatever time, and then you come back and they say, 25 years have gone by. How? You ain't gone 25 years.
I think it works out again. I could I could babble on for ages about it because I've actually looked into
it's just form.
But the guy who wrote Interstellar, I think it's like Kip Thorne. The whole film Interstellar was based around Kip Thorne's theory of the relativity in the whole space. You got the guy, the astronaut, where they go down to the planet and they come back because gravitation is slower than it is on the planet down here. So basically, where he is on the space
black hole is sucking time.
Basically, So he's aged as they've been down, and it's every hour something like there's
7 hours
years.
Or something
that's
like
it. As passed.
And the closer you got to the event horizon, the more time.
But he explains it. He explains it. I've got his book, and if you really want a book where you're going to get stuck into and get a massive headache, I would suggest reading Kip Thorne's book on Interstellar. It's all the theories on it. He's written diagrams, so he's like drawn on these diagrams. We're here, that's there. This is how time works. This is how gravity works, and this is how basically he describes his theory, which is what the whole film was based on. And it's an incredible read, and it is way out of my league. But it's when you read that and then Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time, there's no similarities in the two. Basically, it's two guys' theories on how this stuff works. But obviously, Stephen Hawking's was an older theory than Kip Thorne's, but Kip Thorne's is more believable, where they portray it in the film.
It sort of like puts it in layman terms so people can understand it, whereas
I mean, but the whole theory is mind-boggling and it's a lot to take on. But when you're looking at light speed, it's obviously you're traveling faster from point A to point B, and when you're going through, obviously you're traveling faster, you get there. And I think what the theory is, if you were to literally say you're here, you sort of traveled here, but didn't stay here and travel back again. And so many years have passed on from point A. And obviously you've done a loop and come back, then it would have passed. But if you stayed at point B and came back to point A, you'd be left with nothing. There'd be nothing there. I've frozen the game.
Yeah, you frozen.
Sorry, keeps happening now. It's because I think it's because I keep.
You got me just on my own again. He will be back. Internet problem.
There we go.
Here he is.
So so if you stayed at point B and come back to point A, there could be nothing left. Basically, the planet could be gone. And that's a scary thought.
Well, you go all the way out for you space trip. You come back and there's no planet.
What do you do? But then do you start aging at point B and come back? It's crazy theory, but it's crazy in itself. Like Voyager 1 probe, it's been traveling out there. That's slower in the speed of sound, or speed of light, sorry. But it's still traveling at an incredible speed, and they're still operating it, and it's on the verge of exiting our universe. Our solar system.
Well, it's gone outside the bubble now.
Yeah, but they're still getting stuff back from it.
Yeah,
Which I think is fascinating.
I was like, blown away. Like in the 70s when that was launched, I remember it all being on the BBC and they made a big thing about it. And it's like, oh, this thing's actually going out into space, like. And then they launched Voyager 2, like literally 2 years later.
But then it's got the diagram with a map of where we are and stuff. I mean,
yeah,
it covers that. So here you go. There's a planet with loads of resources. But then, if you picked up on that, are we still here? If I ever pick up on it, you know.
Well, yeah, but don't forget, we'll move through the arms of the galaxy, right? We're going through as that galaxy's turning. We're going through that arm of the galaxy, and our solar system is on a corkscrew. It's spinning on like a corkscrew. And then inside that, you've got all the planets that are going around the sun and everything. And they're all like going around. So everything's corkscrewing. And then you've got the planets going around, the moon's going around all the planets after that. And then you've got us. And it's just mind-boggling when you come to think about how big it really is out there. It's just mind-boggling just thinking about our galaxy. And then you think about what's outside our galaxy, and it's just, you can end up going crazy thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and reserve it as that thought on the side. So I'll try and stay sane when I read some of these books, because it is enough. If you read too much into any of this stuff, it's enough to send you doolally and crazy, because you're constantly thinking about it. I mean, I'm constantly looking at the sky. I'm looking out for strange things. You know, the other day when I was walking the dog and I picked up on that weird voice when I was just throwing the ball in the river for them, there's a strange voice came through, you know, and it's almost like a calling. You try and forget about it, and it's like, well, no, where are you going? Come back here.
Have you ever done a history on that area to see if anybody like died in that?
Farmland, decades ago, but it flooded too much, so they stopped farming on it, and now it's just it was a protection because the area flooded, and now it is just marshland there now. But what you got is you've got houses and industrial estates either side, and you just got this natural area. But what was weird was that conversation I got in the tree line, walking around, and I went to investigate, and it just sounded like voices coming from that hedgerow. And I walked, because there's like a little path there which was overgrown. It's been cut now. They've done a 2 meter straight cut. We can walk down it, but it was overgrown. It was really rarely they cut it. But I walked the dogs down there and it was overgrown. And it was a warm day. I thought it was probably someone sat in the bushes, and it was like whispering, but you could hear it. It's loud whispering. And I got closer. It's like it sort of stopped. Like someone was like, "Oh, someone's coming," and they just went really quiet. And from what you can see, it's overgrown, but it's all blackthorn and thistles and bracken. It's not somewhere you'd sit and have a conversation. As I've looked at it, there's like an old fence there, and you definitely would have known if someone was there. And that's it. And I didn't hear anything else. And that happened not long after I got that voice, or maybe a few days. I think I walked the dogs up there a couple of times a week. Yeah. But it's strange hearing a conversation in that hedgerow. You know, there was no one there, and if there was anyone there, I couldn't see him. Put it that way.
Well, it's like what I said to you earlier when I said that I was sitting at my PC one night, and I was actually talking to Nath Lockley and Luna, and somebody right behind me on my right-hand side, right here, all I heard was Chris, clear as day. And it just, I'm like that, turning around, seeing who's right behind me. I live on my own. There's nobody in my flat. But I heard as clear as day, Chris. And it freaked me out. I straight online to Nathan Luna, and I was like, someone's just called my name. I live in my flat on my own, but someone's just called my name. And it really did freak me out that night.
So you're on your own, and the voice came, basically said your name.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a male voice as well. It wasn't a female voice. And it was a strong male voice. It was like Chris. And it really just freaked me out.
Was it like that one I got where I ain't going to say it on live, but it basically was a swear word. It sounded like F-U, really loud in. It's on the,
it's on
I'm watching. If you go on my videos, you'll see it's the one with the two dogs. I'm throwing the ball in the river. I'm sending it to my wife because she likes to see. She's at work, so she normally likes to see them swimming in the water. She's not normally come out and dog walks with me. So when I send her a video of them playing in the water, it cheers her up. So I sent her a video, and it was only later when I sent it on WhatsApp when I got home with the Wi-Fi, I heard it, and I was debating whether to send it to her. But when I mentioned it, when I put it on the YouTube channel, obviously Amy had seen it, and she goes, "Oh, I remember that voice. You know, you sent it on the thing. I didn't think anything of it, but it sounded like something swearing." And I was like, well, definitely bubbly electric voice saying "F you" like that. And when I played it back, I can't think of anything. No one was there. I had no apps on the phone running, just the camera app. So unless it was one of the dogs talking to me, and you know what I mean, I can't explain it.
Dogs learn to swear at you.
Well, it could have been bark you. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the tone of it's weird. It's like a bubbly electric voice, and we're next to water. So explain that. And then obviously later on, the conversation in the hedgerow. I can't explain that. But then I looked up the is it Worthing? What place was it? It's an area. I'll put it on my Facebook page. It's basically a beauty spot, nature reserve down in Worthing. And people are saying their dogs are going missing down there. Literally, they let them off the lead. They run into a bush and don't come out and never seen again. And I think it's on, if you Google search, my dog's been alien abducted and put Worthing, Sussex in, you'll read all about it. It's been going on for years. And people can't explain where their dogs are going. They're just disappearing in this nature reserve.
There's a portal behind a bush somewhere. The dogs are going in and then just disappearing into the portal.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see how it's happening. But people are saying they're seeing lights in the area again, and this is in Worthing. I can't remember what it was called. I'll try and find it. It's definitely I'll put it on somewhere. But yeah, it's just again another place you wouldn't expect it of high strangeness. You know, a strange area.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot spots around the UK. Leeds, that's the whole town, the whole city is just crazy hotspot. Loads and loads of activity going on there.
That's right. It's definitely Worthing. I'm just trying to get it up on my phone.
Yeah, Worthing. That's another thing about the south of England now. All the way along the coast, all the way along the south of England, there's for centuries there's always been something written about the areas. There used to be pilgrims that used to go to all the churches all the way along, like the southern half of the UK, coming in from Europe, and then go over to Ireland, and then go over to Lindisfarne and everything.
Now, Lindisfarne, I've been to Lindisfarne.
Been to Lindisfarne. Yeah. And then the abbeys that are all the way around the UK that are all demolished now. I've been in many of those places, and those are just eerie as anything.
Ah, here we go. 1975, aliens abducting England's dogs nationwide. It's from the National Archives. A27. Trying to finish on there. Clapham Wood.
Clapham Wood, yeah.
Clapham Wood.
Near Clapham
Wood area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back since 1975, people, and to this day, if you Google Clapham Wood and read up on it, strange lights seen in the sky, strange things going on there, dogs disappearing since 1975 by dog walkers. Can't explain it. I don't know if there's any missing people's accounts down there, but it seems to be mainly animals. But they're calling their dogs not coming back, and that's still happening. So that's interesting. Again, that's down here in the south, Worthing. So I came across that the other day, which I thought was weird. Again, I don't think there's a certain area of high strangeness. I think some areas are more amplified than others, but it's definitely going on all around us, you know.
Well, I mean, like these people reported like these energy signatures in these areas for years. When you go down to like Stonehenge, that's like one of the most scientifically studied areas. Not just like Stonehenge, I'm on about all the way around that area. It's that whole
You've
area.
got the hills, haven't you? Salisbury,
Yeah.
is it? The hill, Salisbury Hill.
Salisbury, the plains and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, you got all that. I mean, that's not far down the road from me. That's about
No.
40 minutes down the road from me. And then, as I say, in Frimley here, we got the footage I've got of the strange things seen in the sky. And we're not far from there. We're not actually far from the south coast here. We're about, sort of, again, 40 minutes from the south coast, either way, Salisbury or if you go down Portsmouth way. Yeah. But again, as I say, Dave Monday, he looks into a lot of the stuff over English Channel. He's on the Isle of Wight as well. And some of the stuff he captures, half of it is not great, but it's just at being there at the right time, he just snapshots photos and you sort of think, it could be anything. But some of the photos he's got are really interesting.
Does Dave know about the black triangle craft that was seen down there?
Probably.
There's a friend of mine, AJ Raffles, who lives down there.
Was that over Farnborough?
No.
Because there was, I found one report, basically a guy was in his garden and he's having a cigarette or something. He's based in his back garden. He lives right by the airport. And he's seen this unusual craft. Now, there is strange, unusual craft that do land. There's one plane, when I used to live in Mitchett, used to fly over because we used to live underneath the runway, and it was a triangle shape, but it had a great big propeller on the back, and it was a turboprop, and this thing was so noisy.
Yeah, that is an unmanned aerial drone.
Well, it was a powered plane. It's sort of Delta Wing, but it also had on its nose front, it had rings on that, and it had a turboprop. It's come in.
Yeah, it is
loud thing, horrible.
That is it's not a Predator drone, but it's a military drone, and they're used for high altitudes, like basically scanning and spying.
No, this one was man-powered, Chris. It was a
man-powered one.
Yeah,
okay, a cockpit.
Size of a private jet, but it was just wing threat back and had a turboprop in the back, and it really did give you an headache when it went over. And I suppose they were flying it, but
the
planes like that, but they
he saw this black triangle craft that wasn't making any noise. There wasn't any engine plumes coming out the back of it. There was no engine noise from it as it went over. He got in touch with the military base there, asking if they had any black craft flying, and they denied having any. So he doesn't know what he saw. Well, literally a couple of weeks, months before, he was saying that he'd never had a UFO sighting. And I said to him, just keep looking up, mate. You'll see something. Right? Yeah. Skies are full of them. Right? And then he comes out with the UFO story that he saw, the black triangle. And he's been trying to get other people, if they saw something down there. Well, I have found a few people that also saw this black triangle down on the Isle of Wight. And then what they said, it moved really slowly at first and then just shot off and disappeared really fast. So I don't think our military's got anything like that.
Well, as I say, the one over Farnborough, this guy was out, he's taking a photo of it, and it's literally a black triangle. And he said there's no noise to it. It literally appeared in his garden. He took a photo, realised what it was. I mean, he looked again and it had gone. And the other one was on the Hog's Back on the A31, going to Guildford. Now, that one, it was taken on a telephoto lens. The guy saw this thing on the horizon. He's zoomed in, he's taken a photo of it. Now, if you imagine a very blurry Vulcan bomber shape, that's what it looked like. Okay. And he looked up, he went as far as looking up to see if there's any air shows on where the Vulcan bomber was. The Vulcan bomber, there's only one flying.
There's only one flying. I think that's been took out of commission now.
It has now. But this was obviously taken when the plane was flying. I think it's 2017.
Yeah.
And that day it wasn't flying or appearing at any air shows. So that was an interesting. It's like obviously at a distance. It's on the horizon on the Hog's Back, and he's taking this photo, and it's like a very blurry shape of a triangular shape, but like Delta Wing, like the Vulcan bomber. And it's
a lot of reports going back years of black triangles seen over the UK.
Yeah, and they're still being seen as well.
Yeah, the famous one was in the late 80s, the ones that were seen over Belgium, and then they came over to the UK. There was those ones. There's the ones that RF Cosford, they reported 2 UFOs hovering over the base, and the people in Cosford Village, they also reported it. There was one triangle that was seen over RF Waddington back in 98, I think that was 98, 99. And that shut down the base. And that's where they do all the training for the AWACS, the big planes with the radar dishes on the back. Well, normally you'll see those flying about all over. You'll see them 4 at a time flying in formation as they're training. And they had those up in the morning. This black object was seen over the base in the afternoon, and all flights was grounded. And then there was an investigation, but I haven't heard anything from that since. So, but again,
back to the 80s, like you were saying about 1980. So you look at the sort of like the stealth technology back then. Obviously, the F-117 or the F-117. Yeah. I mean, that would have been probably flying, but then you'd have heard the jet engine.
It would have been.
It would have shut down the base
aircraft. Back then, it would have been classed as a top secret aircraft.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been out in public, so everybody could see it.
The other interesting, which those photos you sent me from that case, is that the material is. It looks like a funny alloy, doesn't it? So when I showed it to a good friend of mine who's into all this, like secret stuff, and he's more conspiracy related than anything.
Yeah.
He said to me, "Was it melted glass?" I said, "No." I said, "I think it's more of an alloy, like a light alloy." And he said,
"That's
no.
what somebody else said."
He said that looks like melted glass. Yeah. So that thing, whatever it was that was flying and clipped the tree, it must have been hot to give that. But there's one picture you sent. It's, I say, it looked like a light alloy, and it's like, to me, back in that sort of era, who would have alloy like that in 83? I mean, alloy, yes, exists. A big chunk of bubbles in it. I mean,
there was space. Right, there was aluminium that was space grade, right?
Yeah.
And it's the purest aluminium that they can refine. It's like the top grade. But this stuff, because it got tested, apparently the aluminium was off the scale. It was pure. Now we can't get pure. We have to like refine it and refine it and refine it and refine it, and eventually you'll get like 99.999% pure. But it won't be 100% pure. And also, the samples that were done, they detected other metals that were high. There was higher than what we'd use, and that. And they've still got to test the rest of the metals. But there is Gary Nolan, he's testing metals. Ross Coulthard, he knows somebody that's also testing metals. There's the one that found metals that was supposed to have been from the crash site of Roswell. Again, the aluminium is off the scale. People saying, oh, it was from a jet plane that crashed there, a fighter jet training mission, right? But then when they tested the aluminium to it, it doesn't correspond to anything that they've got on record. Now, every time they make an aircraft, samples of those metals are taken, and it's like a fingerprint, if you like, the metal samples, and they can correspond to metals that was produced that year. And it's to do with how many isotopes are actually in the metals and everything. So they look for those signatures. Well, for a start off, there was no isotopes. For a second, it was off the scale on aluminium. And they said it can't have come from a fighter aircraft because the metal was too pure. So it could have come from the actual craft. Now, when I've heard about the skin of these craft, they're made up of layers and layers of metals, different metals that are thinly laid, and one is a positive and one is a negative, and they all work off each other as they're layered. And these metals, with certain amounts of power that's added to them, can do certain things like make it cloak so it's invisible, can change its shape so it can elongate itself, or it can puff itself up to like a sphere, if you like. And this isn't just theory. They're actually using these metamaterials now in the laboratories, and they're coming up with like amazing things that they can do with them. They can make a cube disappear and then appear over here with this metal that they've got. They can change the shape of it so it becomes from a solid to a liquid back to a solid again. And it's crazy. You put a magnet next to it, and you can draw it to the side of the glass and make it move around and that. Well, now they can do it without using a magnet, by just putting your finger on it. And it's like it can pick up the static in your body, the magnetic in everybody's body, and use that. So you can run your finger across it, and this thing will follow. This metal. It's crazy stuff. Absolutely mind-boggling. Well, all this originates from UFO technology. It's all been passed down to the scientists, and they've come up with their own interpretations of what they can do with these metals. So it's now we're getting into the interesting bits. It's just they can survive tremendous heats. They can survive tremendous colds. They still interact. If you freeze them, these metals, they become something different. If you heat them up, they become something different. So honestly, I've watched so many videos, and they're just mind-blowing stuff. It's just
well, without going into Roswell, I mean, the metals recovered from the Roswell crash, they folded them up, they scarred them, and these things unfolded, and the crease that they scarred it with, it couldn't be cut, and it just transformed back to what it was, you know.
Yeah.
And that was from 1947, you know, and it just makes you think, what have they got locked up?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that was like what, 80 years ago?
Yeah.
Right. And
I'll be back in a second. Sorry, I'm just
shutting
this door.
I'll carry on talking to everyone. Say that was 80 odd years ago. So they dealt with a lot of stuff before they had the Roswell crash. They was experimenting with certain technologies back then. And then the Roswell crash happened, and then they was given a load of technology to work out, right, what does this do? What does that do? See if you can weaponize that. You know, military will be really interested. So it was a lot of like investigating and invention back then. But yeah, it was interesting times. So imagine what they had back then, 80 years ago, and now imagine what they've got today. That all the money that the American citizens have been paying in taxes for these black projects over the years, that you don't know what you're getting. And they've been using this money to fund their lavish lifestyles in all this technology. And he's like, well, what have they got today? They may have craft that have like defined anti-gravity and flying around in our skies and that. I doubt it, because we're still using conventional engines, we're still using conventional fuels, we're still using rocket propellant to get rockets into space. If we had this technology, we'd be using it on these new rockets. You know, we'd be building craft on the planet and then using anti-technology to get them into space, like what they do in Star Trek. But we're not down that road. We're still using fuels and digging up out the ground and everything. So I don't believe that we've got this technology. or we know how to use this technology. We've got it. We just haven't figured out how to use it yet. And this is why the government have been passing it out to a lot of these private organisations, and they're the ones that have been doing all the studying and the technology for it. So yeah, imagine what they've done in the last 80 years. I mean, we've got lasers now, laser weapons. I read about laser weapons in comics when I was a kid. That the army had them to fight like monsters. And now we've got them on tanks and Humvees and ships and everything. And they're using them in training missions. They're bringing aircraft down. It was all science fiction up on stage, and now it's science fact again.
It's like with this Dragonfire laser, isn't it? The British have come up with. Well,
yeah, they've been testing it in the waters here, in the bay. They've had to put exclusion zones to all the fishermen to stay out of the area.
Oh, really?
This new weapon, yeah.
But again, that's been going on for years, haven't they? The old Boeing, I think it's 747 used to have the big dome on the front, and they were talking about this back in the late 90s, trying to come up with this technology, this big laser thing on the front, using mirrors, wasn't it?
Mm.
And it is stuff that they sort of either got locked away, or these crazy ideas are coming up with and putting forward.
We used to get a lot of technology that was filtered down from UFO material, flat screen TVs, fiber optics, circuit boards, night vision, infrared. This is all alien technologies. This is all what they've got from the crafts and everything. It's all been filtered down through private organizations. Once the military can't weaponize it, it's still good technology. So it just gets passed down to the consumers. And they figured out what they can come up with, like flat screen TV. Yeah, we'll have some TVs. We'll have some monitors, all flat screen. You won't have to have these big boxes in your living room anymore. Just a nice flat panel.
Mm.
I mean, look at your mobile phone, right? There is more technology in this than they had when they sent the Apollo missions.
There's more technology in a pocket calculator.
Yeah, right. So just imagine all the tech that, but see what my point is about all this tech that's passed down to us. It's stopped. We don't get the tech anymore. It's all slowed. These organizations are not releasing like the new technologies anymore. They just make the ones that they've got a little bit better, like the next mobile phone, the next computer, the next gen in like hard drives or whatever. They've come out with a new chip now, the G5 chip, and they've put the whole of the DNA sequence on one of these little chips, crystal chips. That's a lot of information on one tiny little chip. So are we now going to be seeing those chips in our PCs in the future, where you'll only have a chip as a hard drive? You won't have all the bulky hard drives inside. It will be just one little tiny chip, and everything will go onto that. So yeah, all this technology is slowly filtering down, and we're getting, we're slowly moving forward, but it's not like the advance that we used to.
So I was at the phone go off. That's the wife asking if she can come home. We pick her out when I do these podcasts. But I'll have to wrap it up because I haven't eaten yet. She's hungry, so she probably
I need to eat. I need to go.
You're yawning, but
yeah. Well, like I was up until 6 o'clock this morning because I was chatting to like vetters and all that. Like, so we was up until 6, and then I finally gets to bed, and then I was up at 10 o'clock. So I had like 4 hours sleep. It was like
that's been a daily basis trying to work on the roads. I'll get up about 1 o'clock, and so I'll go up about 1 o'clock in the afternoon after doing a 10-hour night shift, and then I'm doing stuff and I'm back at work again. I wonder why I'm tired at weekends. But I decided to say, no doubt, Chris has probably invited the guys in the chat tonight. But thanks for the support to everyone who's joined us tonight, waffling on about all sorts, really. This is something I'm sort of doing monthly, different sort of things. And hopefully Chris will very kindly help me out on some of the subjects.
Yeah, well, Nath has just come into the chat. Good evening, Nath.
Hello, Nath.
Hiya, bud.
Again, tonight's gone a bit faulty because it's supposed to release about 7 o'clock, but technical issues this end, and we're hoping to show. Well, I was hoping to show a bit more on the screen, but as I say, my laptop's died on me. Evening, Nathan. Good to see you on here, buddy.
Yeah.
And like I said to you, thanks, Nathan. He's helped out as well with the intro and the logo. So
yeah, that intro is really cool.
So big shout to Nathan. Yeah. You want a logo for your website? Get in touch with Nathan.
Yeah, definitely. Get in touch with Nathan.
He sorted the intro out to this, and he's also designed the logo. So much appreciated. And Luna for letting him design the. For stealing his time, basically. So big thanks to Luna as well. But so it's a monthly thing, and hopefully I'll get more guys on, and we'll be chatting about all sorts of like ghosts, cryptids.
Month shows about ghosts and paranormal and that. So that will be Terry's domain because he knows more about it than I do.
But it is, yeah. Anything sort of. I've also got Claire, who's willing to help out, and Matt. So just a general chit chat. So not many guests I'll probably get on here, but it is generally chit chat about all things strange. So, but yeah, thanks for the support, everyone, and for joining, and hopefully catch you on the next round.
Bye, guys.
And say good day to you, Chris.
Yeah, man, that was great. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Yeah. It was a good chat.
Lovely. So yeah, thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And Chris, enjoy the rest of your evening.
I'm gonna go and eat.
Yeah, gonna go and eat. Same as me, mate. I think I'm gonna go get something to eat. So hopefully catch you guys in the next one. And again, thanks again for all the support, and take care.
See you later, guys.